that indicated to us this jump in consciousness. So in that, this session was quite unique because we could see how, depending on where you are at on your journey in your life right now, how this is showing up for you. But let's cover some of the aspects here that have to do with how this felt for you, how you perceived the session, maybe as in your body, maybe you picked up on things, on sensations. Does anybody want to share?
I'd be interested in hearing what my
high-pitched that you hear in the background, if you do, I don't know if you do, those are crickets here in Florida. It's past midnight here, and I'm sitting outside in my healing tent. What were some of the sensations that you experienced? Hey, I'm not getting a connection. Guys, can you all hear me? There you go. Okay, yes, you can hear me. Okay, you felt some tingling in your hands. We felt that too, quite a bit. Some perhaps more in your hands, some also in their feet. You had lots of tears, Linda. Yeah, the tears. I mean, I was commenting on the watery eyes here during this session that indicate to us that a person is starting to see something with new eyes. It's like a clearing of the inner mind's eye. But when it comes with emotions, yeah, then it can also clear the emotions. So there's different kind of tears. Linda, could you describe them? Were they emotional tears? Were they more like spontaneous tears, you know, just something that came up without emotion, with emotion? Okay. And a sadness. Yeah. So I always ask people when they refer to a sadness to describe this a little further, because what we experience as this emotional heaviness, yeah, can also be an indication that we are indeed connecting with a deeper part in us. It's a part in us that feels almost like abandoned. Yeah, it's like an abandoned child that you embrace, that you hug. And there's sort of when that embrace occurs, so here within the context of those true self sessions, it occurs in an energetic sense. It can release the sadness that was sort of stuck in that person. Is that what it felt like, Linda? That you felt like something that allowed you to actually connect with this abandoned or lonely or maybe unsupported part of you? You were referring to some physical pain. Guys, if you don't mind, go and speak into the microphone. It's a lot easier.
I tried that, but I didn't think it worked. Could you hear me?
It was linked to your hip pain. Oops. Sorry. Can you say that again? Sorry. I'm having issues here with hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you, but hang on. All right.
Now?
Now it should be better. Yes, perfect. Sorry.
I'm coming up to a hip replacement that's been waiting for a couple of years, and I think that the tears were sort of gratitude for the old bone, sorry that I hadn't cleared the emotions, and just sort of sad that it has to go, I guess.
I like the way you're thinking. Yeah, to actually tune into your body, tune into your bone, to these parts of you that are clearly, they've been with you all your life, and some things are now showing wear and tear, and they have to be, surgically, be replaced in this case. This is in general, Linda, a very good way to connect with yourself and to go into something that we would call it's like a self-forgiveness process, where you go in and you thank these elements, these aspects, these body parts of yours, first and foremost, for being there with you. And then depending on, what the physical ailments or symptoms are, to go into like a bit of a redemption with it, just to acknowledge that you haven't been treating it well. What, in this case, yeah, with hip replacement, may I ask, like, what age range you're in?
62.
All right, so with 62, your bones have been carrying quite a bit, and the hip stands for. Let me show this to you guys. Stands for your decision making, for your willingness, your ability to move forward. Okay, so what hip issues indicate to an energy healer is typically that there's a stuckness there. That's something that you already know that you need to do, or that you need to remove yourself from. Yeah, a lot of times it's really about removing oneself out of a situation. Yeah, if you look at the different chakras here that all have a different function, they all help us with metabolizing different aspects of our energy. And you look at the location of the hip here, yeah, it has a lot to do with the emotions and with the conditioning. And what this means is that there's a lot of mindsets or beliefs how one is supposed to be, yeah, how one is supposed to do things, how one is supposed to appear to others, and that can then hold a person back. Yeah, so
That'd
what
be my
you
life.
yes, but
So
really,
now I'm needing to heal that and make space for a new one and not do the same thing.
and this is really the important insight here. You luckily we live in a time where, from a medical standpoint, we can enhance or repair these kinds of things. Yeah, these wear and tear things, some of them, and the hip being one of them. But now the question is, with if you count all the pain and all the suffering that you have endured, yeah, like until you will feel sort of like, you know, this is renewed, okay, to make that worthwhile, like what is it teaching me? So it's one aspect to recognize what a certain ailment or a certain problem is linked to. And then it's another one, and this is relevant here for our session, to translate that, to apply that in life. Yeah, so the fact that you can get a new one here pretty soon is wonderful. All right, but it doesn't relieve you of your responsibility, to really work with this. And especially, how close are you to the surgery?
Well, it was originally supposed to be tomorrow. Now it's May 8th.
Okay, so that's pretty close. So what you can do now, Linda, to support the the surgery itself and the whole recovery process. Yeah, that has to happen afterwards. Yeah, which is like I mean, the acute phase is just a few days, but then there is a sort of a 4 to 6 week, sort of physical therapy and recovery process. Yeah, that you really work with this, that you support your body now. Yeah, you turn this around. Okay, so you've identified that you've maybe, yeah, put too much pressure on your hip because there were some things that you didn't do, even though you knew that you should do them, say in simple words. And now you reverse it. Now that you're basically getting a new, not just a new hip, but also a new start. Yeah. You are supporting that process. You are making a new commitment, maybe to yourself. Yeah. To not let this happen again. And in your case, it's obviously more like a midterm or long term kind of thing, and to use this as a gift, yeah, to become more congruent with yourself, yeah, to support your inner guidance, or to listen to your inner guidance, so that this um, blockage, yeah, so like when we have hip issues, this is a physical blockage. It's literally pictured. It's like the inability to move forward, to thrust forward in life and make plans. Yeah, by making plans, by basically, making a pact with yourself and say to yourself, okay, first I'm going to be present for the whole healing and recovery process, but then I'm also going to support the process of my life, yeah, the journey in my life by, learning from it, yeah, by applying it. If I look at the protocol here of your personal energy reading, Linda, let me find this here real quick. There you go. Yeah, so this doesn't surprise me. It's really all about congruence. It's about you acting. It's like walking the talk. That would probably be the simplest way of expressing that. Yeah, walking the talk. And blockages or physical ailments which are happening on the densest level of our self, if you will, yeah, they take a long time to build, okay? Which means that when we want to resolve them, when we want to heal them, we really need to recognize the bigger pattern. So right now, this is relevant for everybody, where we have this sort of new beginning energy in the collective energy. It's very important that we are precise with ourselves, yeah, with how we talk with ourselves. So that's why I mentioned that I really like how you're thinking, like talking with yourself in a more loving way, in a more understanding your own needs, yeah, and acting accordingly. So you won't be able to read all this here, I suppose, but I'll send this in the recording here for the session, where you can see some exercises that can support the healing process. And this is like right here between the orange and yellow for you. Yeah, obviously stretching and balancing physical therapy is going to do this with you, but also challenging yourself a little bit. Yeah, like going into things that really force you to, like, maybe have to act with more precision. I know that you're probably a person who's very precise in sort of, like, say, analytical ways, yeah, in worldly matters, but you haven't really applied that precision with yourself. Yeah, so congruence is the big theme for you here, and as you are going into this new phase, you can use this inner awareness, yeah, that is guiding you to talking to your bones, yeah, and sending lots of love to them. Yeah, getting a hip replacement is a big deal from an energetic point of view. Yeah, because there's a piece of you that's been cut out. Not to be too graphic about this, yeah. So send this off with love and self-forgiveness, Linda, and maybe make a pact with yourself that you, from here on, want to speak more truth and want to walk the talk more. Yeah, that's what the energy field is showing.
Thank you.
I hope this works. Yeah. Yeah, there's some lots of elements, that come forward when you connect with your true self. And to do a little bit of shop talk here during the Connect with Your True Self session, there was the biggest blockage that we identified and that we've basically worked with in this session was the blockage between the third and the fourth chakra. Physically, it's located where your diaphragm is. Now it's like right here where you see this sort of overlap between the green, the fourth, the heart chakra, and your solar plexus, the yellow. So like right here. And that's linked to your ability to expand your energy, to claim your space, to take a deep breath and really work, the expansion, yeah, of your lungs, sort of as the symbols for you, the capacity, your ability to hold life force and to hold love. And one of the guidance that came in for all of you during this session had to do with creating a safe space within your house or within your living area. So like an altar maybe, or if you have a little more space, maybe even a room or a section of your room where you go, to connect with yourself. This can also be in your garden or depending on your life situation. This is a visual that came in for all of you. Yeah, to have this space, this physical space that can remind you of this need to connect with your deeper, your inner self. The layers that come forward when you do this, and just to give you an idea here, because this is what I do for a living. So as I'm guiding people through these different layers of themselves, there are some things that happen in a certain order. The first layer is the critical inner voice and the negative inner self-talk. That's, Linda, that's why I liked how you approached it, that you really connect with the parts in you that are not working that well with sort of a lovingness, yeah, with expressing your self-love, even if it has to do with forgiveness there. But the critical inner voice, these intrusive thoughts and the negative inner self-talk is an ego function. It's a function of your false self, if you will, the part of you that presents itself to the outside world, and that is formed more or less as a consequence of the coping with the outside world. Yeah, that's not, false self doesn't mean it's wrong or a lie, but it is a projection of you. It is sort of how you want other people to see you. And in that, it is very externalized. So the critical inner voice and the negative inner self-talk, which consists mostly of recordings or programs, things that you've heard people say, things that are part of your social environment, yeah, how other people judge other people and so forth, is a distraction that comes from this externalized view of yourself. So if you see yourself from the outside in, your critical inner voice will be very high because you are linking into all these outer voices, if you will. Yeah, and that's the first layer that we all need to kind of bust. We need to bust through this. We need to recognize that, these things aren't necessarily your own thoughts. I do workshops all the time in the sacred self-healing community. We talk about the critical inner voice all the time because it is something that can, even if we have if we've worked a lot on all this, when we go low, when we find ourselves in a lower energetic place, this negative inner self-talk typically gets bigger. And there, for that, you're going to have to work out a routine, how to get that layer, out of your field, because it's going to lead to you absorbing more from other people, yeah, and also then as a consequence projecting more of this false self. So it's a subconscious mechanism where the more you try to be in a certain way, which is this externalized view of yourself, the more you also pull in other people's projections of you. Yeah, and the problem that arises out of that is that if you're not sure which is yours and which isn't, that you begin to identify with all these projections and you lose touch with your true self. Yeah, and if this is going on all your life, then you find yourself in a place, and this is where we are collectively right now, where you don't even know who you are anymore. Yeah, and that's then the identity issue that we often see in conjunction with the third and the fourth chakra, is really recognizing that that is not who you are. So on a deeper level, this session was really about recognizing that these projected parts of you aren't who you truly are. They may be a part of you, yeah, but they're not your true nature. And the reason why I brought in the collective aspect here is because we all are on our individuated journey here, but we also are simultaneously on this big journey with everybody else, yeah, with almost 8 billion people in the boat, developing and unraveling human consciousness. And the next level of that collective consciousness development is indeed the recognition that we are spiritual in nature, that we are immaterial in nature. That is a big deal for a collective to recognize that, because if we are understanding ourselves as a soul with a body, as opposed to a body with a soul, we also have to recognize that the essence of who we are is not of material nature. We have a material experience here right now, but the true me, so to speak, yeah, the true self is actually in the immaterial. And once we make the step, and there's lots of individuals that have already recognized this, I'm assuming that you are already aware of this, yeah, then all these things that we have identified with as a consequence of this identification with the physical, the materialism, yeah, this hanging on to just the material life, yeah, and forgetting about the immaterial, the spirit nature of ourselves, that needs to be shed. And that is the bigger process that we are all in right now. And today, here during this Connect with Your True Self session, you got a little bit of a taste for that. So the first layer that we need to bust through, yeah, in order to, physically embody this higher consciousness, is the distraction that comes in through all the projections, that comes in through, this identifying this outside in perspective of ourselves, yeah, which also often includes a lot of gunk and mud and so forth, from other people, that other people load on you, like how they see you. The second layer is the layer of making a stance for yourself. It's claiming your space, yeah, claiming your home, claiming, your, yeah, this is me and I'm here. All right. And this is my bubble. This is my space. Yeah. Just like how we all have sort of a physical bubble where, we determine the boundaries of how close we let somebody come in. And, you know what I mean. This now that has to happen on this higher vibratory level where we recognize that we have an energy field that we command, and only we should command that. So once it becomes clear to us that it's in our self-responsibility to determine what we let in, yeah, then we were basically raising our consciousness to becoming able to weed out things better. Yeah, like in Linda, like in your case, to be able to say no to things that don't align with our values, that don't align with our integrity. Yeah, so that's the second layer that we need to bust through on this true self journey. And then, and this is where most of you guys are, comes the layer, and this also takes the longest, is to readjust our practical 3D life, yeah, to this, yeah, the congruence aspect of things, yeah, where we basically learn to act accordingly and to put our spiritual identity, yeah, into this world, yeah. And you see this with a lot of these movements in the last decades here, where New Age has brought in this understanding of a spiritual self into our societies. And we've adopted a lot of the Eastern traditions, but there's also the Western traditions that are coming in now. I'm probably more of a representation of the Western spiritual sciences, because I have the traditional humanistic education, the old philosophers, and like what we have brought forward, let's say, in this sort of European, Indo-Germanian uh, thought process here in those last 5,000-6,000 years. And what you will find when you work with congruence is that you already have all that in you. It's just really a matter of shedding these layers, such as inner child layers, such as karmic layers, and the ancestral stuff, the stuff with our sort of old tribe, but also aspects that have to do with bigger karmic purposes, bigger karmic tasks. And beyond that, guys, once a person is aware of these three big barriers, okay, it comes like this: finding your own tribe, finding a community, finding support. So I saw this in many of you here, that you are diligently working on this congruence aspect that I mentioned, but that you still feel somewhat unsupported. So this can bring in a heaviness, this can bring in a sense of sadness, because it feels alone at first. But that's only because the congruence isn't fully actualized, isn't fully expressed in your life. So the more congruent you become, the more like-minded people and people who align to you and your values, you begin to attract. I remember this personally, that this is a long journey. So there will be times where we feel utterly alone, which is basically why I'm doing all this community work, because I remember this. I know what this feels like. Now, when we awaken to these deeper inner levels, it feels very much alone. And that then can become a block itself, a barrier again that we need to overcome, where we need to muster the courage to break through this illusion that we are alone. You are essentially, yeah, like a higher being, yeah, soul being in training here with all of these other trainees, yeah, these other humans here on this planet. And you are ultimately connected with all of those who are on that same path that you're on. So we're all on the same bigger path, but depending on our awareness, our consciousness level, we resonate with a certain group of people. And these are there, guys, even if it appears that you're often alone. And that's then the natural next step, for us is to commune, yeah, to exchange, to share what we go through with people who are on that particular same path. And after that, in the deeper sort of spiritual, it becomes a little more spiritual after that uh, journey, is the redemption process that we all go through with ourselves and the karmic resolution. So this is fundamentally, collectively, where we're at right now here at the end of April. We are all in a place of karmic closure, which means that things in our life, but also, the things that, let's say, run through our family or through a tribe or through our nation, that they all are now being reset in a way that it's a new beginning. And when you do a reset, yeah, in this spiritual sense, which is a very cool way of, basically shedding the old layers. You enter this with a new awareness. And this is my tip for you guys. It's my tip for you to really take these energies. So there's like the energetic weather condition, yeah, the energetic backwind that you have right now is like a fresh start. It gives you that opportunity to shift your journey from this sort of outside in to this more inside out kind of perspective. And as you're doing this, do not be afraid to shed, people in your life, relationships or jobs. There's a lot of people who are shedding their jobs right now because they simply realize that it's not congruent, it's not authentic for them. Yeah, so authenticity and, you know, only, saying the things that you truly mean. Yeah, mean the things that you say. Be precise with this. Only, support companies or products or, groups that you are aligning with. Yeah, don't do anything that doesn't feel good for you, that doesn't feel conducive for you, because that is what creates the stress. And you all know what the stress then does to your nervous system. So before I let you go, I want you to go home with another practical tip. And this is all based on, how we see humans, in this sort of holistic way here, the composition of body, heart, mind, spirit, and soul. Yeah, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and the energetic layer of a person. Yeah, that's what we're looking at. And when you see yourself this way, yeah, we basically talked about this barrier between the ego self and the true self, yeah, between the solar plexus and the heart chakra. And I color code my infographic so you can see there's a correspondence here. It's the same colors, although these numbers do not represent chakras, but it is exactly right here, yeah, where you guys, yeah, in this session worked with your energy. And as something that I will also send in the email with the report, I'll send this little self-report protocol for you that can help you to tune into these different layers of yourself and report to yourself. Go into deeper feedback with yourself. Yeah, what on a physical level, what are my predominant sensations right now? Can I even feel my body? What are my outer conditions? And what are my inner conditions? The same for your emotions. Now, what are the predominant emotions that I'm feeling right now? Again, always note the outer and the inner conditions along with it, because we are under the influence of the inner and the outer. It's this duality in us that we constantly have to juggle. What are the predominant thoughts? What's the nature of these thoughts? What are the predominant beliefs underneath those thoughts? The constructs, the things that I align myself to. And what is the predominant energy that I'm feeling? So you can do this several times a day if you've never done this before, but it's enough, if you just practice that, to read yourself and to have a little better overview over where your energies, where your focus is going. And once you understand that, perhaps, you're dealing primarily with outer conditions here, then you can realize that maybe your focus is too externalized, is too much on the outside. The goal is that you have a good balance there, but fundamentally that you are looking at the world from the inside out and not from the outside in. Yeah, so that's my tip here as sort of the essence of this session, which is playing out differently. Yeah, for all of you, there was over 80, well, 80 people in this session. You will all find yourself on a different level of awareness and play out slightly differently for you. Yeah, maybe a bit more in the physical, maybe a bit more in the mental, in the intellectual, the way you think and the way you talk to yourself, maybe a little more in your spiritual. This whole entire month of April is about spiritual identity. Yeah, and if you haven't found this yet, every month I produce an energy alignment that helps us to tune in. It's a 20-minute spoken invocation that helps us to tune in to ourselves in conjunction with these outer energies, how to unravel them. You can find it on my website. This month's energy alignment is called Divine Wisdom. You can also download it there. Yeah, so that's basically here the reflection from my end. If you have any questions, now is the time. Yes, thank you very much for your gratitude. Yeah, so this is a really, really good time for all of us to rededicate, our attention to this spiritual self that we are, without the new age, without maybe the religious, overlay of how one has to be. Yeah, so none of that matters on your true self level. Yeah, I hope that I could be of help, that I could guide you to find your own true self and to enter into your own self-healing process with the session. Yeah, feel free to come back every month. Yeah, feel free to come back as many times as you want. Yes, new beginnings, guys, make it count. Yeah, really make it count. All right. And I see you again on Wednesday for the Life Energy Talk on Skype, and take advantage of our daily Sacred Self online meditations, free for everybody. All the links and everything, you can find this on my website. Thank you so much for coming. See you soon. Bye bye. And by the way, I forgot to push the record button. So the first 5 minutes, I think, the intro that I did not record. Forgive me for this. I was too busy processing the energies. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.